Okay, let's continue our piece here. Okay, let me get my camera right. All right. Okay, we want to continue to bring down. Now he looks like a coon here. We want to bring this down, the face and everything like that down. I told you his ears are very small. We want to bring this area down like this. Okay. As I told you, the ears are very small. And the face is thin. Kind of changed directions on me there. Okay, one of the things we want to do is we want to bring this up kind of like this, okay? In other words, bring a little muscle in here. And we want to take a little, there we go, like this. Kind of like that. Kind of bring that muscle, that leg, emphasizing that leg muscle in there. And of course, bringing this back right here. Bring that leg back. And of course the tail is going to be brought down some more. We still have a lot to do on this figure. Let me get my pencil and let's do the same thing over here, where it brings back that leg muscle. Just like that. It brings back that leg muscle. And of course, these legs have to be brought. They're so much thinner than this. These legs are way too thick. And we have to bring this all in. These legs are. So I take and I'm sorry sometimes that my glove gets in the way and I can't show you every single sometimes getting in here is a issue. On this side it's not, because I can just simply do this and then bring it down here. These legs definitely are thinner, kind of come up like this. Like that. And we can kind of give a little muscle in here just as well. Let's head down some more. And let's, of course, bring this area down a little bit as we slowly possum, as I told you, he's not the cleanest animal in the world, but he is interesting animal. They're a very curious animal. We have a lot of possums, as I've told you, down here in Texas. A lot of them. We have a lot of them in our residential areas. They get, they're all over the place. But like I said, you usually don't see a possum till nighttime. They come out at night. And my mother, I've even had problems with them over at my mother's house, getting into, coming into her back porch and looking for food. They go out at night looking for food, and they're pesky. Like I said, they're ugly little devils. They really are. They're an ugly little devil. And I used to love to see them at night, because if you shine a flashlight on them at night, you can see those eyes. You know it's a possum. You can tell it's a possum, believe me. Going after these legs. Definitely gonna thin up these legs. You can definitely tell a possum at night, believe me. They're cut this away just a little bit. They are you can see those little beady eyes at night, as they're not like a cat. You don't see the thing, you know, a cat usually I'm gonna bring this up just a hair, and over just a hair, so that you can see me a little bit better. You can tell a possum from a cat at night when you see one. Their faces and everything like that are totally and completely different. You can see their little beady eyes at night, and you can tell it's a possum. They just don't look like a cat. In fact, their eyes kind of shine at night. They kind of, I don't know how to explain it. It's sort of like they they shine. I guess you would call that possum at night. And they're just very, 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 very pesky animals. Let's put it that way. They're very unique in a little ways. But buddy, they're looking for food, and where they'll go wherever they have to go. Most people don't like to be around possums. They scare them because they're such an ugly little animal. Most people don't like to. They're such a ugly, ugly little animal. They're not scary. They're just not. And like I said, most possums are associated with it. And remember, people like it's almost like a large rat. Possums are almost like really. That's what I was trying to say. They're almost like a large rat when you see them. And I think that's what scares a lot of people when they don't like to be around possums. In fact, a lot of people that see them at night think that's what they are. They think they assume that's what they are. They're rats, and that's not what they are. They're possums. But when you see them at night, especially the way that they look, a lot of people I know have called me and said, "Hey, there's this huge rat that I see at night," and come to find out that's what it is. It's a possum. And they do look like a huge rat. They really do at night. So people, now the tail is very thin, okay? So we're going to really thin up that tail. Yeah, they look very, very very, very rat-like looking, because their faces look like a rat. And a lot of people, policemen I've talked to, say that people call and say there's a big rat that's in my house or something like that, and they'll get there and that's what it is. It's a possum, and people just don't know what they are. Possums, they're like coons. You see them a lot laying on the side of the road, where at night, like I said, at night they get out and move a lot, and they cross roads and stuff like that. So you see a lot of them that have been run over and things like that. So and they're a grayish color. They're a grayish color, and then their faces have sort of a smooth white look to them. And so now up in the wooded areas, you see a lot of possums. You don't see as many down here as you see up in the wooded area, but they're not like coons now. They don't. They feed at night. They feed at night like a coon, but a coon will scare you to death. A coon he'll get in your garbage can and you think somebody's breaking in your house. He'll make so much noise. And the difference between a possum, of course, and a coon is that a coon has little hands like a human being, and a possum does not. Possum does not have hands like a person, or a coon does. Coon is pretty amazing, and I understand a coon cleans his food before he eats it and all that other stuff. So possum don't. Possum's just nasty. Like I said, that just shocked me that time I saw those baby possums and the mama come out of that dead, and they will eat dead stuff. Okay, they will eat dead flesh. Okay, we're getting it down real good now. It's really looking. They eat dead flesh. They will eat anything dead. That's the difference between a coon and a possum. A coon will not just eat dead things, in other words. A coon will usually look for something that he can. And like I said, a coon will clean its food. A possum just will eat it. They'll eat a dead everything. Okay. All right, we're getting really nice in here. Looking good. Looking real good. I try to give a little history of things that I carve. I don't know. I don't always know. The next thing we're going to carve is skunk. This coon is actually this. I mean, this coon. This possum is actually sitting there looking at this skunk on. He's sitting on the log. And see the ears, how small they are? They're very, very small. They're not, in fact, I want to cut this in here because they don't actually go that far. In fact, they're even smaller than this. There we go. Come back behind here and take off. This is actually one of the knives I made. Like I told you, with the OCCT blades, which was formerly Denny knives, and I really like it. Cuts good. I like the way. This is why I like to make my own stuff, because I like the handle. And I know this seems like a smaller handle, but I sure like the way it's made. And it helps a whole lot. So, okay. I tell you what, we're looking real good here. We really are looking good here. Just going to kind of, because there's not a whole lot of distance between this this thing and this thing here. In other words, now this has to come down. This leg, and be careful along in here. Very thin. So you want to be careful not to press it too hard and not to go too strong on it, because you're being now this place in here is very difficult to get in between, but we're going to get in between the best way we know how. In fact, we've done very well here. But you want to be careful as you're working. You don't want to. That's why a lot of times I'll wait and then bring the tail down towards the end of when I'm carving it, because any other time could break. You could, slip and break the tail, because the tail is very thin, and when you get into those thin parts, you get into thin work. Okay, it's looking really good. Come even down a little bit more. That tail is very thin on a coon. I mean, I am so sorry. I don't know why I've got raccoon in my mind, but looking good. Okay, I think we're about. Let me just bring this down a little bit in here, a little bit more. Let me take a little bit more in here. Bring those legs out. There we go. Bring those legs out just a little bit. But we are looking very good here. come. There we go. And we just kind of, but we've got, it looks like we're doing good on the, so we've got our little little, and then we want to kind of bring that down. There we go. There we go. There we go. Sort of like that. And bring that down even more. I told you the tail is very, very thin on a okay, be careful in this area for sure, because we're thin in here. There we go. Okay, I tell you what, we have got our figure. We can just go ahead and cut a little eye in here. And cut a little eye in here. I told you that they're almost, it almost looks like a big rat, and that's what I say, a possum looks like a rat. That's why most people mistake them for rats that don't see possums that often. They have the same characteristics as a rat, and they look like one. In fact, they may come from the family. I don't know. I'm not a possum entrepreneur, but I'm sure that somewhere along the way that they're from that family of rodents. Just like we have a lot of what's called marsh. We have a lot of what's called oh brother, Gene, come on. Nutri-rats. We call nutri-rats, and they're from the rat family, and they look like a big rat, and that's very similar to what a possum looks like. And like I said, possums became very popular and well known when the Beverly Hillbillies began to talk about them. You know, they would have baked possum and stuff like that, and people became aware of possums, and they were eaten. The Clampetts were right. They were eaten, and I never ate one. And like I said, I don't.